Sundays at 7 with Frankie Flowers, Garden Q&A. Here we go, here we grow. For those that don't know me, maybe joining for the first time, my name, this guy, is Frank Ferragini, but a lot of people call me, my nickname, aka Frankie Flowers. I'm a 4-time best-selling garden author. You can see me Monday through Fridays on City TV's Breakfast Television. I have a lifetime of garden experience. I am passionate about plants, wild about weather, and I'm always here to help you grow, grow, grow. I was away last week, and the reason why I was away last weekend, I had the opportunity, and I was super grateful for the opportunity to travel with Breakfast Television, which is the morning show I work on, to the sandy shores of Jamaica, to Jamaica South Shore, where we took a total of 10 viewers to enjoy Sandals South Coast. And of course, when I was there, I always find out a little bit more about growing and gardening as well. I'm going to show you some pictures in just a few moments. Just to let you know, this is your opportunity to ask me questions and actually post some questions in the comments. We'll take a look at some of those questions. We'll answer them live here. But even if I don't get a chance to answer them, there's a community of gardeners that come on here that will go back and answer as well. So don't be shy. Ask your questions. Let's get growing. Let's get gardening. We are in the month of February. We are one step closer to spring. We had some beautiful sunshine this weekend as well. We got a big shout out this morning. That is this evening from Lacey in Oshawa. How you doing? One of the viewers that came with us to Jamaica, it was from Oshawa, but she called it Poshawa. She said she lives in the nice area of Oshawa, the Poshawa. Good evening as well to Sherry there. We got Penny that's saying good evening as well. We got my good friend Paula Pauly saying a shout as well at the Oshawa Generals game. Hope all is well with you and the family. Go Oshawa Generals, go, and let's get growing as well. We got Carol Jones joining us this evening as well. Hello from Quebec. Christmas cacti, when to repot, next size up. Thinking mine looks big for a little pot. So Christmas cacti, I often say they will outlive the average cat because they can live for decades. They're a quite easy plant that does like to be pot bound. So they would rather have their shoes tight than have too big of shoes. So if your Christmas cacti all of a sudden looks less vibrant, not growing as well, let's say that it's starting to discolor, those are all indications that you may need to repot. If you're pushing the soil and it feels hard where it's a massive root, those are the indications that it will need to be repotted. When repotting, don't pot to too large of a size. So let's say that it's in an 8-inch pot. The next size up would be a 10. The size up from there is a 12. I would really recommend you planting at most to a 12, but more so to a 10-inch pot. You would use a cacti soil. Miracle-Gro has a wonderful cacti soil. And then when you're going to repot, you just want to score the roots, like around those roots. Just use your finger to almost loosen just a little bit to make those roots shoot out a little bit more. Galissa is saying, good evening to you as well. My good friend Matthew Amos was celebrating a birthday just a few weeks ago. Hello to you, Tanya. Giving us a shout out this evening on LinkedIn. We're on Facebook this evening. We are on LinkedIn. We're on YouTube. We are all over the place. Connie. Hi, Connie. What a lovely sunny day it did turn out. There has been evidence of skunks looking for goodies in the lawn. Of course, the goodies that they're looking for in the lawn is grubs. That's the protein source. And with the temperatures that we've had, some areas haven't seen any ground frost, so the ground hasn't even firmed up. So if the skunks are digging in your lawn, it's an indication of grubs. So that means in the spring, as soon as we start to see things growing actively outdoors, we can then start to apply something called Grub B Gone. That Grub B Gone is basically bacillus. It's a bacillus, so it's actually a type of bacteria that will infect the grubs and kill the grubs off. So those are some things you can do. Right now, if you want to keep some of the skunks away, you can put some blood meal down. Don't put bone meal, put blood meal down. That can discourage them away from the area. We got Jalissa that's saying, hello from Uxbridge. What size of a bigger pot for tomatoes? So tomatoes are big plants, and I often get super frustrated during the growing season when I see these tomatoes for sale, patio tomatoes, and they're for sale at many places, including my own family business, and they're in a small 9-inch pot with already a tomato cage on them. My tomato cages, my tomatoes that I grow in a pot, are in a 20-gallon pot, which is about almost 8 times the size of that container. So I would use at a minimum to grow a tomato is a 16-inch diameter pot. The bigger the pot, the better it's going to be. If you can use a black pot, that black pot will attract sunlight. because black attracts sunlight and heat the root systems, and they will grow really, really well. Jalissa says, what kind of tomato plant should I get in the spring? If you are growing in a pot because you need a smaller tomato size, you would want to get a determinate variety, which means a bush type variety tomato, not a vine tomato, a bush. So probably one of the easiest for you if you're a new gardener, get Early Girl Bush tomato. Early Girl Bush, medium-sized fruit, beautiful flavor on that as well. And it's one of the earliest tomatoes out there, so it's going to give you success. Okay, I want to show you guys some things too. I want to talk to you a little bit about my trip. My trip, of course, was to Sandals in Jamaica, and it was the Sandals South Coast. This is the only way that I could open this for you, but I wanted to show you some of the different flowers. They actually, at Sandals South Coast, they host a daily garden tour where the horticulturalists will walk you through the gardens. They have some greenhouses there that they're growing for some of the other Sandals resorts. There's a look at a beautiful crown of thorns in bloom, and you can see that with almost the peachy to red kind of blooms with the yellow, gorgeous color. This here is the entrance to the spa area, and you can see exceptionally well planted with a collection of bougainvillea and jasmine. As soon as you were to walk into the spa, and in the mornings when I was going to do the morning show at 5:30, I would walk by the spa area and I could smell the jasmine. I love this little simple combination here too of white bougainvillea and white verbena. Two heat-loving plants that love full sun that are doing exceptionally well. So a good combo that's there. When it comes to trumpet vine, there is a tropical trumpet vine. This is the yellow trumpet vine, and you can see it over the arbor there, very quick growing. Underneath the planting which is cool, this would be an indoor plant at home, but that's a variegated Schefflera base planting, or the bottom planting of that yellow trumpet vine. Of course, hibiscus all over the place. Just wanted to show you the leaf on this hibiscus. You can see the veining there. That sometimes can show you a lack of iron or an iron deficiency. So that's one thing to show. If you're looking for an easy to grow plant in sun, in a patio pot, around a pool, or in an area where you don't have to often water, oleander. Wonderful. The only thing about oleander, heads up, they're poisonous. This is plumbago. Plumbago is also another patio tropical plant that we can grow here in pots, but they use it all over Jamaica because it's heat loving. This plant here that almost looked like pentas, which is an annual variety. This one here is called jungle geranium. It's an easy to grow and can grow in a hedge, also known as the flame of the woods. This is a bean pod, which is a vine type plant with a pink flower. And if you're wondering what the nickname for this is, it's also known as the beach bean or the seaside bean. And this one here is native to Trinidad, Tobago. And then finally, there's some beautiful bougainvillea growing up. And if you look at the green wall there to the right, that Sandals sign with the green wall, that is an artificial use of all artificial plants. But when you put the live bougainvillea before it, it's just a really good idea. So I always, no matter where I go, I like to show some pictures of some flowers and things that inspired me, and also some of the gardens and some of the care that were there. We got a good evening this evening from Anthony. Keep up the good work. Thank you. Hey, by the way, got to give a shout out to my son. He competed this weekend at Mount St. Louis. He's a freestyle skier, placed 4th again. So he's done 2 competitions, and every time he competes, he placed 4th. So he's so close. He's so close. We're really proud of him as well. Julie giving us a hello from Bancroft this evening. We got a question here, which is Grace, best weeping tree for a tiny area. So a weeping tree is one that's going to cascade over. A weeping tree doesn't mean it's crying. Bad garden joke. But probably the weeping caragana, also known as the weeping pea shrub, is probably the smallest weeping tree for a small area. Weeping mulberry would just get too big for you. Weeping cherry would get too big for you. So I would go with the weeping caragana. Dominica from Innisfil, not far from me in Bradford, Ontario. We got Jen, which is giving a congratulations to my son as well. We got a lot of awesomes and bravos. We got a little shout out here as well from Windsor. We say hello. There is Marlene, which is saying, hi, Frankie, my rosemary is surviving in the house, but I've noticed it's gotten a little leggy. Should I pinch them off? Yes. Yeah. Anytime herbs, it's key to keep cutting them back. Right now, if you wanted to, because we're starting to get some more daylight, if you start to pinch some of those section off, and you do them in almost 3-inch sections. You can root them in soil. So pull the bottom leaves off and leave that stem in, and you could root them into a potting soil, and you can get more rosemary. So you could do some rosemary cuttings right now, which would be super easy for you to do as well. For instance, my AeroGarden that I have, and take a look at some of my Facebook pages, my Instagram pages. You'll see lots of information on different things that are growing. My AeroGarden, the herbs that I'm growing there have gone mad. So I came home from a week away. It was great because there's already a watering system, a lighting system that's there. But I gave them all a little bit of a haircut today and used that into my salad that I made, which was really quite good. We got a little comment here from Carol Jones. Saw the clip of him, your son skiing. He looks very good. He's doing really well. I'm just really happy that he's happy. That's the key. We got a question here as well this evening from Carol Sweeney. Hi, Carol. Hi, Frankie from Ajax. Is it a bad sign that my magnolia tree is budding now? There are so many things that are budding right now because we're going through these warm phases. Is it a bad sign? It is a sign that they're coming out of dormancy. Could it impact the blooms for magnolias? If those buds swell to where they're almost to a crack, where it's a bloom crack, where that bud would crack, and then we were to get temperatures below freezing, like below -5 for a few consecutive nights, that could knock off the blooms. So because of the warm, and if we snap back into cold, then that could impact the magnolia. So you could have fewer blooms this year, but it's too early to find out right now. And really, there's nothing you can do. Let just Mother Nature take its course. So we got Marissa Dezati. When is the earliest to dig up a rose bush and replant? Thanks. So where I would feel comfortable is about mid-April, and that's when the ground frost is out, even though we don't have ground frost right now, because the rose is dormant. And if by chance there is no ground frost in the area that you live, you could actually move it right now if you really wanted. But I would feel better for you to move it in mid-April. We got another great question as well. Kathy, when repotting my root-bound spider plant, the leaves broke off. Will the roots that I put into a larger plant grow a new plant? So when you were repotting that spider plant, if some of the little babies fell off, boom, 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 and that's generally what you have on a spider plant that are on these stems, if you stick those in water, they will grow a new spider plant. Spider plants are super easy to germinate with all the little babies, the babies that are popped off there. So yes, indeed, you will be able to grow one. Shelly, Bobelli, Barama, Fofeli, me, my, Momelli. Evening from Oakville. How big old does a plumeria have to be to bloom? Thank you. Plumerias, which bloom generally in an orange color, usually need to be fairly mature, but mature in the sense that they need to be pot bound. So if there's still room in the pot, so they basically need to, those roots need to almost fill the base of the pot. So in terms of age, it can be as little as a few years of age or even earlier than that. But necessarily it's when it's root bound. It's root bound and when you're not watering. A lot of the times it's usually 3 to 4 seasons that you'll have that. We got a little question here from Facebook this evening, or a comment, Jerry Lynn Thompson, which is saying, hi, Frankie from Stainer. Okay, wanted to talk to you guys a little bit this evening as well about seed starting. So indeed, seed starting is something that we all get inspired to do. We're all like, there's something really special when you can actually plant a seed and see something grow, especially for children, because, you know, a seed is just a capsule, and inside that capsule is all the parts to make a wonderful plant. It's amazing to think that just such a tiny seed that by the end of a summer season can grow a tomato that can produce enough tomatoes for 4 people. And some tomato plants can be in excess of 10 feet high. It's amazing from a little seed that it does that. Seed starting, the benefits, and I say this each and every year, the benefits are you can get some varieties that you may not be able to find. The other upside of seed starting is you can grow from the start. So you know how it was grown. And if you want to be purely organic, you can grow it in that way. The other benefit of seed starting, of course, is just the process. But there's a couple things that you need for seed starting. You need time. You need to be around. You can't go away for a 14-day vacation if you have a bunch of seed trays sitting around. You need space to grow these seeds. You will need some knowledge, and you will need some light. So you need a south or west facing window that's quite bright light, or you need to grow light within that. The question that you should ask yourself before seed starting is, do I need that many plants? Sometimes people will buy 10 plants, 10 packs of seeds of just different varieties of tomatoes. And they plant each pack. For a family of 4, you need at most 3 to 4 plants of tomatoes. That's it. After that, you have a lot of tomato plants. So do you need that many plants? And then sometimes it's really about getting together with a group of friends that love to garden, and you say, I'm going to grow these, and they all grow those, and then you do a little bit of a plant swap later on. Here's Carol Jones, which is saying, I have 5 spider plants from one plant. Found the spot in my house they love. Spider plants are really easy, guys, and they're a great plant for a beginner as well that's out there. So if you want a first plant that does well, or maybe you want to give away a plant as a gift, spider plant, great. I had to get rid of a plant because it had fruit flies. Those are not fruit flies. Those are fungus gnats. It was just starting to sprout lemon seeds. What do I do if the other plants are affected? So the reason why you had what appeared to be fruit flies are fungus gnats. The reason why we have fungus gnats is the soil is generally wet. So in order for fungus gnats to love an area, they need moist soil. They need decaying leaves. So if there's any leaves that fall on top of the soil, those 2 elements will provide the perfect habitat for a fungus gnat. So how do we eliminate or reduce the population of fungus gnats? First thing we do is we cut back on the watering and we allow plants to dry in between waterings. That will make for healthier roots. So no matter what, you'll minimize the amount of fungus gnats and you'll improve the health of the roots of that plant. Secondly, what we'll do, any fallen leaves that are on the base of the soil, we'll pick those up. Thirdly, what we'll do is we'll either go online and buy some yellow sticky traps, or we can go to Canadian Tire or Home Depot or any independent garden center to buy yellow sticky strips or sticky traps. They're yellow, sticky, they're like a yellow piece of what would appear to look like cardboard, but it's really a sticky substance. The yellow attracts the fungus gnats, and that'll catch the adult fungus gnats so they can't lay eggs. And finally, what we'll do is we'll take some cinnamon powder and we'll dust around the base of the soil. Presto, we should eliminate or reduce the amount of fungus gnats. So if you have fungus gnats, you're usually a heavy waterer, so cut back on your watering. Now, we have a question from Grace Meisner. I brought my canna lilies in and they are blooming. They're in water with minnows. Will they bloom outside again this summer? Yes, you can actually, it's neat that canna lilies can grow in an environment like that. Canna lilies will continue to produce blooms, so you can just cut the blooms off. They'll continue to do that. They don't need to go into a dormancy period. They would benefit to go into a dormancy period. So if you store the tubers, but they are in many areas where it doesn't get too cold, a perennial plant. So they will continue to bloom and do well for you as well. There we go. This is the greatest thing about the community that we have on here, is that community will answer questions as well. And you can see one of the recommendations here is when it comes to those fruit flies, everybody says they're fruit flies, but they're fungus gnats. They're yellow sticky traps that are there. We got Carol. Hi, Frankie. Do you recommend starting geranium seeds or better buying them at the garden center? So there's different varieties of geraniums. There are zonal geraniums, which are grown from a cutting, and there are seed geraniums. When we look at a seed geranium generally has a smaller bloom, and a little bit smaller plant. With a zonal geranium, and even like calliopes or another variety, they'll have a bigger bloom, and they're usually going to be a bigger plant. Rocky Mountain series is a type that's there. Seed geraniums, it depends on what you're looking for. Seed geraniums are a real cost-effective way, but generally the zonal geraniums are better, depending upon how many geraniums you need. And if you're trying to save money, you can save money by seed geraniums. But if you don't need that many geraniums and you want big impact, buy the plants that you get at the garden centers. We got Jerry Lynn Thompson. Frankie, I moved to Stayner. Love Stayner, just on the way to Collingwood, of course, and have a new house. And I'm looking at planting flowering hedges. Any suggestions? Lots of great flowering hedges. The thing about flowering hedges is you're planting a flowering shrub. And so the flowering shrub will only give you a smaller bloom period. So one of the nicest hedges, it depends on the height of the hedge that you want. So you can use bridal leaf spirea, which would give you that white bloom, and a hedge of bridal leaf spirea is beautiful. If you want one that's a little bit shorter in terms of a hedge material that would get to about 4 feet, Snow Mound spirea is really good. You could use a hedge of, for instance, Miss Kim flowering lilac. That's the dwarf Korean lilac. Or another amazing hedge is limelight hydrangeas. That limelight hydrangeas will give you a flower period later summer, long bloom period as well. and it'll give you about 6 feet in height. The only thing is in spring, they're very late to leaf out. So they don't really leaf out. So it takes a little bit of while for that hedge to fill in spring. So there's some suggestions for you. So questions that I would have for you, is it full sun? I hope it is. Secondly, when do you want it to bloom? And then also the height. They're all questions. So when you go to your local garden center, not far from you in Stayner, I'll give a shameless self-plug. Bradford Greenhouse's Garden Gallery on Highway 90, just outside of Barrie. You can go there and just ask any of the people in the nursery, and they'll be more than happy to help you there. We got another shout out here from Jessica. Hello, Frankie. Welcome back to Canada. I hope you are well rested. What are the best low maintenance plants for a south-facing apartment? South-facing apartment has lots of bright light. So you could get everything from a yucca. A lot of the yuccas do very well in bright light. Easy low maintenance plant as well are jades, and they actually give you a lot of great luck. Another great plant, which is Sansevieria, which is a snake plant that will do very well in full sun. If you want one that's a tree form, Ficus audrey is a really nice variety, Ficus audrey. So those are some ones that are there, but you have good amount of light, and that's key. So south facing, you have lots of options that are out there for you. Spider plant, if you're a little bit further away from the window, and a reminder, you don't have to put these plants in front of the window. They can be in that brightly lit room. We never want a plant to touch a window. So in the wintertime, we want to make sure that between our plants and the window that there's always going to be a little bit of an air barrier, like a buffer of air. Because if our plants actually touch the window, that frost can go right through the window as well. We got jade. Yeah. We got another comment here this evening and/or question. I planted 2 standard strawberry vanilla hydrangea trees last fall, and I thought I pruned them maybe Marches. With this weird weather, I'm now afraid I'm going to cut off the future blooms. Any ideas? No, you're not going to cut off the future blooms, because these guys bloom on new wood. So any wood that grows this year will put the flower on. So you can prune them in March, no problem whatsoever, and it will not impact the blooms whatsoever that are out there. Carol Jones, are hydrangeas toxic to dogs my puppies like to chew? I don't think they are, but I'm just going to do a little quick Google search here. Hydrangeas toxic to pets. And the question is, chewing the plant compound causes the leaves, and flower toxic. Yeah, so it does look like there is a compound in the leaf that can cause some stomach sickness to your dog. So it is, best to do is to train your dog. Often dogs will leave those plants alone, but it's always good to check. So the American SPCA is a really great website that's out there as well that you can check. That's really easy as well. So this one here, I think we answered that one. Yes, we did. We got another question here this evening as well. And thank you for the question, Sandra. Frankie, when do you start pepper seeds? Do you like indoor starts or right into a greenhouse, which is unheated, Vancouver Island? So Vancouver Island, our overnight temperatures in Vancouver Island tend to be near or above freezing. Usually when we're going to be starting peppers is about 8 weeks before your last frost date. So Vancouver Island, your last frost date could be anywhere from mid-March to the end of March sometimes, but is sometimes always into April. I would start them indoors because you don't need any light. So they'll germinate indoors. And once they get to a 3 to 5 leaf stage, then I would put them into your greenhouse. If we have an overnight temperature that's going to drop below 5 degrees, then I would want to put a heater in that greenhouse. So what you could do is maybe get a smaller heater that has a thermostat on it. So you know that if that temperature does drop, that little heater is in there just as a safety for you as well. So thanks for joining us from Vancouver Island. Beautiful island as well. I have lots of friends that live out that way. I have to make it there one day. Cheryl wants to give a hello from Paris, Ontario. Hello to you as well, Cheryl, as well, out there. So a couple different things that are coming up. So we do have several home shows that are going to be coming up. Carol Jones says, my puppy thanks you. He is selective when he tries to chew, hoping this year he's older and better behaved, just being careful. He did chew raspberries this winter. So the raspberry cane. So he's just one of those. He's an energetic little dog. but over time they will get more adjusted and they will know. And training, of course, he's at that puppy stage, which is really hard, that's out there. So we do have several home shows coming up. I'm going to be at several. I'll be at a home show in Collingwood. I'll be at one in Milton. I'll be at one in Oakville. I'll be at a Burlington one. I'll be at the Toronto home show, of course. I'll be at the Barrie home show. So there'll be opportunities this year to see me. I really recommend you to pop on the website, frankieflowers.com. If you haven't, go to the bottom of the website and sign up for my newsletter. We're going to be doing about 6 newsletters this year. Just released the winter newsletter, but we'll be doing one winter. We'll be doing one early spring. We'll be doing one spring. We'll be doing one summer, that is. We'll be doing one harvest. We'll be doing one Christmas and one winter. Those are all the newsletters that we're going to do. There's always lots of great advice in those too. So I really encourage you to get on there and to sign up on the newsletter as well. We got Jessica. Are there herbs that would do well inside? Are they easy and are they safe for cats? The indoor plants also forgot to ask that. So there are several plants that are harmless to cats, and there are some plants that you want to avoid. Like for instance, Dieffenbachia, which is also known as the dumb cane. That is one you want to avoid for cats. Easter lilies, that's something that we want to avoid for cats as well. So there are, and amaryllis is another plant that you want to avoid for cats. Herbs growing indoors lack light, but if you do get an indoor growing system, check out AeroGarden. And AeroGarden is spelled A-E-R-O and then garden, AeroGarden. That is a great way to grow herbs indoors. You can put it right on your kitchen counter, and it's super easy, but the reason why they grow well with that system is the lighting system that's there. They need light. And even by having that there, the little AeroGarden in my kitchen, I put one of my potted herbs that was just not doing well. The ones you buy from the grocery store, I put it really close to the AeroGarden, and now I have all the herbs there, and that one's thriving as well. So it is challenging without having a grow light to grow herbs indoors. We got Bianca, which is saying, good evening to you as well. We got Carolyn, love your newsletter, so informative. Thank you so much. Thank you as well. I want the newsletter to be something that will put a smile on your face, give you something to learn about, prepare you for the upcoming season, and maybe give you some recommendations that are out there as well. So the newsletter that I put out is not like a newsletter that you would get from some retail places. My newsletter is really about value for that. So I really want to make sure that you get something great. Why my pothos plant is not growing and dying. I put it next to the window, but still dying. So pothos, really an easy plant to grow. Doesn't need to be directly in front of the window. So I would maybe say if there's a heating vent that's right there, and because generally what we have right by our windows in our homes are heating vents. So often that's where we have the heating vent. So we want to keep it away from a heating vent. We want it to be away from the window. It doesn't need to be away from the window, and near the window, that is, in a bright room. And we do not want to overwater. So before watering, check if the soil is moist with your finger. Check to see, even if it's a pot inside a pot, lift the pot to make sure there's no water pooling in the base. And really, I recommend it's going to do way better if you allow it even to dry out and let it sit dry for about 3 days, then water. It'll do way better for you as well. Amanda has, do you know if Canada Blooms will be on this spring? If so, when will it be and where? Thank you so much. Unfortunately, Canada Blooms will not be on this year. There was a partnership with the home show, and now Canada Blooms is trying to figure out what it's going to do and where it's going to land itself. I used to sit on the board of directors of Canada Blooms. Now I sit on the on the board of directors for the Royal Botanical Garden. I will keep you informed if I hear anything more about Canada Blooms as well. We got Tracy Reynolds. Hi, Tracy. Great to see you, Frankie. We'll see your dad this week at the Ontario Food Terminal. Wearing my favorite color, green. And indeed, my dad will be there. He still goes to the Ontario Food Terminal. My father, Tony, turned 81 years young, and he still drives a truck, still delivers flowers, still loves the industry overall. We got another question here this evening as well from Donna. Can you move a dwarf Japanese maple in February and transplant it somewhere else? Yes, it's dormant. So you could move it just as long as there's no ground frost. So if you go to shovel and it's like, boom, and it feels like there's frost in, don't, but some areas still don't have ground frost. So that's the question. Pauline, we have a question as well. How to care for Kimberly ferns during the winter months indoors? Thanks for any advice. So the Kimberly Queen ferns, they like to be in a room that's bright, but they do like a cooler evening. So a cooler overnight temperature, a little bit of a humidifier in there. You can cut the Kimberly Queen fern back if you have any browning on it. Make sure that you remove the browning. You can even cut it back so it's just short and it will really flush out. You can do that as well. But the key is making sure it has a little bit of a cooler evening temperature overall. Bill Kennedy, my friend, will do. Love the roasted potato recipe. Keep them coming. Bill, I'll keep my recipes coming as well. So that's going to be it for me this evening. If you get a chance, look at frankieflowers.com. If you get a chance, take a look at Frankie Flowers on Instagram as well as on Facebook. Always out there trying to put good information out for you and share my passion. I hope tonight that with this little chat, we answered some questions. We got you thinking about seed starting, got you maybe thinking about if you're going on a trip to take a look and take in some of the gardens and see what lessons you can learn and bring back home, and really just make sure that you have a blooming great evening. I'll see you guys tomorrow morning live on Breakfast Television, bright and early at 6 a.m. Have a great night, everybody. And I hope you guys enjoyed it. So